Let's give a warm welcome to Shruti Bhargava. With over 19 years of experience at Arcmax Architects, our versatile architect has designed a wide range of spaces from hospitality to residential and commercial. Her sustainable design meets client needs and seamlessly incorporate nature. As a visiting lecturer at renowned institutions like IIT Kharagpur, she shares her experiences bridging the gap between academia and real-world architectural practice. Shruti will share her inputs on design trends in high-rise building, the smart design. So let's welcome Shruti.
I may sound a bit modest, but I would believe that probably my way of looking at high rise and coming into the Indian context may be a lot more traditional, I would say, but I will talk more towards the green side because myself is a strong believer of nature, right? And specifically when we are coming into high rise, I believe we are walking between two parallels, the grounds, which is already less, and now we are touching the skies, right? So not to definitely personally hit the technologies or not to be at that disadvantage side of saying that why are we hiking out? But there has to be definitely a very smart way of dealing that. And that is what I put it in a very, very precise manner. I have summarized the entire content into this vocabulary of being a smart, sustainable, mixed use, adaptive, regenerative, and technological futurized, right? Now, to start with, let us first understand why are we talking this? Because strongly doing all this, all of us are actually making an artificial environment, or I would say a habitat. That is what we all are living in, right? As an architect, as a human being, I believe that we have to understand we are not designing homes or buildings. We are rather designing lives. Why? Because when we are into designing this, we are rather giving life to one another non-living thing, which is the building component itself. Okay. And it does impact us in three ways. What is the people's well-being for which we are designing? It may be high-rise for a residential, for an office, for a commercial, for hospitality, for anything. But ultimately, what is the people's well-being along with the person's behavior, right? The prime fact is that we should not be forgetting the human health. You are going to accommodate a complete new habitat from the natural side to the technical side, correct? So we have to understand while we do this, since we are going to go for an establishment which is huge, which is large scale, and you are definitely going to bring up a lot of social and economic losses. The other part is you have to be equally responsible to understand properly the scale, height, volume while you're doing this, right? Now, when I enhance on this, I feel this smart has actually changed now. Slightly, I say that the sustainable aspect has gone a bit old, and I think Mr. Sheikh already mentioned it, that somewhat this mixed use has to come into picture. Again, I would say that maybe some parts are already taken up, as even Mr. Raghav said, that this adaptability has to be taken care. And I have just clubbed this sustainable, mixed, and adaptive into the biophilic design solution, right? Now, what does this biophilic mean? We need to understand. And more than that, why do we need it? What is this biophilic and why do we need this? As a common man's language, we have been talking that take the ground to the skies, bring up the greens. And how do we do that? We all talk about it. We have been having a lot of programs, government, even students in schools, and it is in common language just said, just plant a tree or a sapling. That is what we know to be the green side, right? We have to understand when we are living in a building, it may be high rise or it may be ground plus one, you are actually living in the bloodline of the building, right? The proton or the neutron side is what Mr. Raghav talked is that the air is going to flow with these molecules and you have to sense everything. AI is going to walk in. Everything is fine, but when we are talking of this, we have to first understand being into this sector, do we realize that natural resources are 50% consumed by the construction sector? I include everybody into this. We as architects, the service vendors, the service people, the service industry, the designers, everybody is a part of it. By and large, we are consuming more than 50%. And this is the update till 2021. Years have already grown up. Okay. Energy, when we talk, we are still at 40%. That is again a huge figure. So most of the two important resources, the artificial energy upfront and the natural resource which we have, the construction sector is enjoying the maximum potential of consuming it. When we talk of water, we are still at 16% because there's a lot of reconsumption, I would say, and then vitalization of reutilizing the things, but still 16% is a huge figure. And when we talk on emission side, we again stand a chance of 45%. So when we have so much of input and we are giving so much as output, I think we have huge responsibilities also. The shoulder has to be stronger and we have to bear heavier responsibility. Biophilic stands with that reconnection of artificial habitat with the natural habitat. Our community is going to definitely play a very, very standalone role. Why? Because we have to understand and make the common person understand that why do you need to absorb this the way it is given to you. You ask someone stay on the 27th floor, I definitely admit it is very hard to convince. But you have to convince them that you have to stay on this floor with this as the amenity and this as your responsibility. This is very important. This is rarely taught. Made with the technical side, made with the common side. You put a plan and when you are coming on financials, what are we talking is kitna square feet milega and what is the amount and what is funded. This is what we talk, right? We have to understand we are living in a triad and this biophilic is actually very simple. Every individual does it in their house. Every child knows, you as a female knows it, the male person as responsibility knows it. पेड़ लगाना चाहिए, लाइट आनी चाहिए, शैडो नहीं पड़ना चाहिए, फालतू लाइट नहीं जलनी चाहिए. This is the common verdict, what all you consume. But the technical part is we are living in a triangle where this biophilic has 3 nodes. Do you have nature in your space? And what is the nature of that space? That is our part. We have to enable that for you. The natural analog is very simple. This a common man does from buying maybe an organic plant from the shop, 50 rupees, or maybe a good interior designer working up an analog which I've made already up in the triangle, artificially matching something which is an organic presence. But we have to believe as high you are going, your building skins have to be rather natural. When you look at the skylines, it's completely concrete. So how can we talk of a natural habitat? Our responsibility is the aspect or the demand is, why are we going for a high rise? We have less of land. Fine, admitted. I don't say stop building, but please do it wisely. The 14 points which are now on the board, they are very simple, and this, as even being a non-technical person, anybody can identify that does your habitat give you at least 5 out of these, right? First one is, which is the visual connection to the nature. This is a very common fact. मान दिखता है कि नहीं, या मेरी खिड़की से हवा आती है कि नहीं. This is what is taught commonly. It is very simple to answer. If you feel that more than 35% in your each of the space is admitting a basic visual connection, it is too good. Non-visual connection is something we have stopped. Common part is closed windows, air conditioners, no sounds coming in. Rather here, the high-rise people are at an advantage because they have that silence, pollution-free content. Visual connectivity is also there and non-visual essence is completely off. We have to actually generate sounds of the bells, right? Azan, the bells ringing in the church. These are not audible at heights. You have to endorse that to the occupant. There are some connectors which are always supposed to be existing. You live on land or you live in the skies, right? Water is important. Everybody is supplying it. Perfectly fine. But what is the way? Services in the toilet, in the kitchen, that is not the role which water always plays. You have to have water presence in every manner. When it is raining, does it come to your house? Something should be dripping in. Somewhere you have to be protecting. Everything cannot be so mechanized. You have to manage. Because when you actually have something as a problem with you, you try to solve it also. So we have to believe that this natural signs of the habitat around you has to walk into your house. Dynamic lights, thermal variations. This, I think, Mr. Raghav again covered it. He was talking things about how much solar input is there into which room. I don't criticize here, but we normally have a mindset when we go higher that jaisa floor niche hai, the same is going to repeat above. This is not the science we talk in architecture. We have to understand maybe after the fourth floor, the bands may change. So the designs may change, the orientations may change, your mechanics may change. That has to be really worked. And that does change the cost, and that does change the timing for the user also. So that we have to put via those AIs, that when you're walking in the atrium, say for example, towards this part of the day, it has to be in this direction. These are the things which we have to understand. When I say we are talking in biophilic designs, we are actually living from the 6 months baby to the 60-year-old, and we have to understand the building as a life. Okay. Further things may sound a bit technical, that maybe the professionals who have to take care, like what are the biomorphic shapes? Can we just leave out with those structured patterns, which already he has put as another example of the self-cleaning part? I'll cover that in my 8 or 9 slide, that he has already said us how to talk with the building and talk with the environment, right? But out of the listed, if out of these 14, if we are able to identify that, yes, my habitat at least owes 5 of them, that is pretty fine. Cities and orders, here I mean that how really complex you have to go. Do I need to go to the 42nd floor, or I can be satisfied at the 22nd? It is not hierarchy or the finance which answers your question always. It is your need. One end we are talking of high rise, it's perfectly fine with the capital and the social or the demographic requirement. But the other factor is that you have maximum cardiovascular diseases when you are rising high. So are we dealing it? Are we managing the levels? Are we taking the grounds partly in stacks above, right? The risks, the refuge, and this unsaid mysteries behind this high rise, that has to be communicated to the user. Only then we are going to be with the user there. That is why I say that how do we get there is very important. Okay. There are a few very simple affirmative choices with us. We are still a step behind, and we have a long time to go ahead with such high rise in our country. But whenever we are starting, instead of just making those patent choices which has come from the developed countries to us, we can have a better prospect to pick up. We have material choices. I think you asked somewhere in between that what would be the options to that. Woods, stones, and partially leather. Leather, I don't mean to kill the animals, but a supplementation of this or a standby of this that gives the picture of leather, because leather is again earthy. That looks the organic side. Okay. Try to mimic the patterns which are naturally around you. I would love to sit maybe on a bag which is of the shape of a water droplet. So that is, in a common man's language, something which is bringing in the natural side with you. Okay. The very crude factors, I think we all should know it. This is up till 2020, which the WHO says. Stress is being caused by two major areas, and that is a vicious cycle. Mental health versus cardiovascular issues and stress. And the moment you are going third floor and above, honestly, we are facing it. Conscious mind or conscious mind, you are facing it knowingly or unknowingly. That is where we have to be towards the positive side. We cannot just design the floors and the building skins. You have to make the user first admit to that, accept it, and then enter into it. Right? I have another line, which is again a very Indian option, I would say, a ramp earth block. This has been our traditional architecture, and we normally don't feel that this is going to be a part of the high rise, but it can certainly be. Maybe not of the structures, but definitely of the interiors or the building skins. People are doing it internationally. We have a lot of areas who have done it. Still, we have a chance that in our country, we have not seen many good examples in the high rise. Of course, ground to 7th floor or 8th floor, we have good buildings which are done really in green manner. But I still say we have actually stuck till the sustainable end. We have yet to cross the boundaries, break that skeleton of the sustainable design, and we have to move to the biophilic morphology now, right? Regenerative. This is the common part, and we have been from years learning recycle, reduce, and reuse. This was that old triad when we talk of energy saving. That has gone now old. We have to change it to restore, renew, and replenish. I think Ms. Pooja has that example. which she says she would be also talking of something which they have replenished, right, from the old one, that we can have it positively from there. But while we are doing this, we have 5 milestones on which this ground structure stands. Can we imitate the nature? We have to have biomimicry. That is the wisest solution. Australia touches so early, 2,000 buildings done in green manner. The count is huge. We have to start, right? We have to air cleanse with the building skin, right? Water purifying structures. And I think people who have presented here, they have already started to talk on these terms that we have to generate this into the upcoming community. Fourth point is the carbon capturing architecture. That means how much can we please reduce on the carbon content? And green roofs. This is something which is into our hands. Even if the building architect is not given this, fine, we can have a building roof with a green structure there, right? That is a very concise recommendation for USA regeneration of when we come close to the nature. Going on high rise should not be the trend in our country that we are going away from nature, right? Futuristic, what do we aim? Which was today's target. What are going to be the trends in the high rise? Of course, technology that has to be talking. I slightly bifurcate that. Please use just advanced materials. We may not be needing the supersonics unless we are, I again say, being biophilic. 50-50, both, because we are consuming 50%. So let us please recharge with the 50%. Least of maintenance, or at least free options, completely maintenance free, if that could be a possibility. Digital versatilities, they have to be huge because it takes time to teach people that press the button soft. So if we can put the AI there and solve it very softly, everything may not always be monitored with a security guard, but there's somebody to manage it. Aesthetics, but then how high? I am not talking of glass facades here. I am talking of the way building behind in the background. Green aesthetics. How high can we go? And at what speed? This speed is going to be huge. If you're taking too long to do this, you are consuming a lot of things, right? A bit low note, big challenges what we have to face. And I think everybody in our community should be knowing it. India is going to face what as challenge? This we should know. Very first, we are known for bulk, huge, magnificent, right? Bulky. जब तक बड़ा नहीं है, जब तक दिखेगा नहीं, तब तक be sold. छोटा सा है, compact है, light है. What does it hold? You will face this challenge. Wind and earthquake resistant design is going to be again a challenge. We have, I don't say technical minds here, but most of the technical minds, they go out. So we have to put that in here with us. Geotechnical investigations, we observe that we have a long way to go because we don't still have that much of advancement that at every corner we can touch it. Because when we are talking of high rise, we are talking of huge urban parameters. And to touch the geotechnical limits, we have to advance quite huge still. Provision of basements is not a very happy side in our country. And that needs to take a look. Why? Because we are not, again, mentally acceptable to that we are going to walk in 8 or 10 basements, right? Effective vertical transportation, again, it's both ways. The kind of services and the kind of backups, because we consume huge energies. Construction and fire safety, I think Mr. Sheikh has already talked. Provisions are there. We know, we do give, but we keep them silent. That is going to be one of the biggest challenge. Speeds of construction. We can see projects signed for 1 year, but they're extended to 3 years. That is going to be a challenge. Repairs and maintenance. Manpower side, I say that's a very good side in India that we have lots of manpower, but then skilled manpower has to be a part of it. What as a provision of plumbing services, I think we can see the recent news, Delhi, Uttarakhand, UP, there are lots of news with a lot of plumbing services facing huge challenges and use of information technology. If we kill these challenges, we have a huge way to go. Ultimately, we have wide land, wide climate, and beautiful places really to look around. I hope we'll take it away from this and we are going to kill these challenges. Thank you for putting me on this board so that I can at least keep this point in front of every listener who's going to listen to this. Thank you, Akansha. Thank you, Sachi. Thank you, all my panelists.
Thank you, Shruti, for the beautiful submission on design trends in high-rise building, the smart design. For viewers who have joined us today, we would like your feedback and encourage you to stay connected with us via our social media handle. Ace Update is available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also download our app from Google Play and App Store. We also request our viewers to stay tuned for future interactions. With that, today's interaction has now come to a close. Thank you and goodbye.